Hey, I've been trying hard all this time, but making an old lady like me do household chores, what's that about? You're the young wife, so shouldn't doing the chores be your responsibility? Me? But I work from morning till evening Monday through Friday, so. That's no excuse. You can still do laundry, dishes, and cleaning when you get back, can't you? Calling that too hard is just being lazy. Back in my day, all household responsibilities were the wife's duty. Seems like you think having a job is an excuse. That's a bit naive. And so it began. Finally showing her true colors. My mother-in-law has been leaving all the household chores to me, who works a job as well, while she just lazes around. I don't intend to leave all the chores to her, but it's impossible for me to do everything. Of course, I'll help out with what I can, but maybe you could do some when you have the time, as long as it's not too much trouble. As a wife, doing chores is expected of you, so don't you dare defy me any further. It's unthinkable for a wife to go against her mother-in-law. If you keep defying me, you might end up regretting it. Could it be? Is she threatening me? I didn't want to yield to such threats, nor did I want to stay silent forever, but arguing with someone like her wouldn't change anything. Then, one Saturday, after days of exhausting life, my mother-in-law tasked me with taking care of the garden. And while I was at it, watch out! It was too late when I heard that. With a crash, a vase my husband had been caring for as a hobby fell on my head from the second floor. Dropped by my mother-in-law. Whether it was on purpose or an accident, I couldn't tell. Instead of a concerned voice from above, I heard snickering. Blood flowed from my head, and as my consciousness faded, I could hear not just my mother-in-law's laughter but also my husband's voice. This sucks. That was my favorite vase. Looking down from the second floor, he must have seen the broken vase in me, bleeding and collapsed. Yet, the words from my husband were not of concern for me, but for the vase. Those were the last words I heard before I lost consciousness, and when I came to, I was lying in a hospital bed. What happened afterward? Maybe they called an ambulance. Seeing me unconscious, the two must have called for help, but I had reached my limit of endurance. My name is Hannah, a 27-year-old office worker at a company. I'm from a very rural area, desperately wanting to escape to New York, thinking going to college would be my ticket out. However, my parents couldn't afford it, and I wasn't keen on getting into debt over it, so I gave up on college. Thinking getting a job would be my excuse to move, I applied everywhere that didn't require specific qualifications and ended up at my current company. See you tomorrow. See ya. We're grabbing a drink, wanna come? I have plans, sorry. Maybe next time. I said that and went home, though I had no plans. As an office worker with a low salary, I wanted to save every penny and wasn't particularly fond of parties. So, I didn't have many friends at the company and led a dull life of work and home. The big city vibe I loved when I first moved to New York now just seemed noisy and tiring, nothing much good about it. While salons here have skilled people compared to the countryside, dressing up seemed pointless. It was a truly unremarkable life. Hannah. I'm Tom from sales. One day, as usual, a male colleague I'd occasionally seen greeted me. Tom from sales. We barely knew each other beyond greetings. What could he possibly want with me? Hi, is there something you need? Would you like to go for lunch? I was thinking of getting Italian. What? An invitation to lunch. A lunch invitation from men was so rare for me that I was taken aback. What's their intention, I wonder? There are plenty of younger people around. Why me? I've wanted to ask you out for a while. What do you say? Being asked so directly, I was embarrassed but couldn't say no because of my nature. I was nervous since we hadn't interacted much, unsure of what to talk about. But he was experienced with women and guided the lunch smoothly, making it surprisingly enjoyable. Thanks for inviting me today. I'll ask you out again, let's go together next time. Blushing a bit from being asked out for another meal by a man after such a long time. I couldn't help but feel a little relieved for being so pleased, but it was indeed a refreshing happiness for me. After about 3 months of going out for meals together, we became a couple following his confession. A year later, we decided to get married. My name is Hannah. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. He told me his parents had divorced when he was in middle school, and he currently lives with his mom. So, the marriage introduction was only made to my mother-in-law. I didn't have any particular prejudice against it. If a single mother can live respectably, then there's nothing wrong with that. Please take good care of my son. I ask you for your kindness too. You really caught a polite and cute one. My son is the luckiest man in the world. My mother-in-law seemed genuinely nice at the time of the marriage introduction, very approachable. Even if it was flattery, it felt good to be complimented like that. It seemed like she was in favor of our marriage, and we were going to live together as three, which didn't seem to pose any particular problems. That's what I thought. Since we both had jobs, the basic household chores were supposed to be done by my mother-in-law. She was also going to prepare the meals, which seemed like we could get along well. With that in mind, the three of us started our life together. Since we weren't financially comfortable, we skipped a wedding ceremony and just registered our marriage, continuing our jobs in different departments. The first 3 months of marriage went without any issues, but problems started to arise around the 4th month. When I got home one day, there were only 2 servings of dinner prepared. I'm home. Isn't my husband coming home tonight? He said he'd be a bit late because of overtime, but he should be back soon. He's coming back. Then, have you already eaten, or? Why are there only 2 servings of dinner? There were only enough ingredients for 2, so I just made enough for my son and myself. You can whip up something for yourself with whatever is in the fridge. She said it so matter-of-factly. I was taken aback. There had never been a day when my dinner wasn't prepared before. What is she thinking? Perhaps I've done something to upset her without realizing. And this is her way of getting back at me. I was surprised because I thought she liked me. I don't like people who express their feelings and actions in such a manner, but everyone has their personality, and it's not my place to complain. Regardless, I didn't understand the reason. If I pretended nothing was wrong, it would only worsen the atmosphere. Did I do something wrong? If I've upset you in any way, I apologize. It's not that you did anything specific. But I've already made dinner for today, and making an extra portion for you is a hassle. I'm tired too, so make your own food. My mother-in-law spoke as if it was the most natural thing, but is that really all there is to it? Feeling a bit uneasy yet accepting her words, I decided not to make a fuss and prepared my own meal. Tired and seeking convenience, I opened the fridge, only to find it nearly empty. I had left all the cooking to my mother-in-law until now, so I wasn't aware of what was stored inside. But with the fridge like this, what can I make? Lacking a quick meal, it seemed I had to go out and buy something. Tired from work and with an early start tomorrow. What a hassle. If she knew I wouldn't have dinner, a heads up would have been nice, so I could have bought something on my way home. The supermarket is on the way home, after all, a little heads up would have been appreciated. Realizing I had to cook but finding nothing in the fridge to use. It seemed I might just lack cooking skills. But a little consideration would have been nice. Enduring the inconvenience, I bought some ready-made food at the supermarket, quickly ate, and went to bed. However, the following evening, I returned home to find my dinner once again unprepared. Were the ingredients insufficient today as well? Yes, I thought about making enough for 3, but there wasn't enough, sorry, but you'll have to buy something again today. All right. But if you don't think you can make enough for tomorrow, could you let me know? If you do, I can buy something on my way home. I'm not great with smartphones and tech, so don't expect too much from me. She says. Yet, she's always messaging my husband. It's like she can't cut the cord. Then why can't she communicate with me? Is she assuming I won't catch on to such lies? At this point, I was convinced I was being harassed by my mother-in-law. I don't know why she dislikes me. When we met for the marriage introduction, she seemed to like me. I thought she was supportive of the marriage, but maybe deep down, she was against it. I can't tell what my mother-in-law is thinking, but one thing's for sure, she's harassing me. I don't want to make a big deal out of it and leave it be. But being harassed day after day, if it escalates, it'll be a problem. So, I decided to talk to my husband about it that night. Maybe he could say something to his mom. I just wanted him to convey it without causing a fuss. That was the hope. Like that. It'd be nice if you could contact me more often, so we don't have to do things twice or 3 times. Look, don't you get it? Mom's feelings are showing through her actions. You must have done something to make her dislike you, and now you want me to fix it? If you did something, you should solve it yourself. I don't think I've done anything to be disliked. And even if I did, doing this kind of harassment without talking about it seems wrong. I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I do contribute to half of our living expenses. Is it your attitude that's annoying? Like, for a woman, you seem to be looking down on us, a bit too arrogant. You should realize your place as a wife, the lowest rank in this family, or mom might dislike you even more. My husband said that and then went to sleep. I was so shocked I couldn't say anything. The wife being the lowest in the family. What does that mean? That's not something I can just ignore. Being looked down upon just because I'm a woman and being treated like a servant. Plus, we're both working and splitting the living expenses. I live separately from my own parents, but with the living expenses I contribute, I'm supporting my mother-in-law. I should have more of a say. That thought made me angry. Of course, I don't want to be ungrateful. But being told this much. Defending his mother is one thing, but I was appalled by my husband's demeaning remarks towards me. I was too tired from work to make a big fuss, honestly. I've never liked fighting, and making a big deal out of it would just be a hassle and take too much effort. I started looking for ways to resolve this without relying on either of them. You know, I've been trying hard all this time, but making an old lady like me do the housework? Since you're the young wife, shouldn't it be your responsibility? Me? But I have work from Monday to Friday, all day long. It's not like you can't do the laundry, dishes, or even cleaning after you get back home. Isn't that just being lazy? Back in my day, taking care of the house was entirely the wife's responsibility. You seem to think having a job is an excuse, but that's a bit naive. It started. It felt like she was finally showing her true colors. She probably always wanted to make me do all the housework, but whether it's because we've only been married for less than a year, or she was just observing. Well, it's unreasonable to expect me to do all the housework while working. I may not have a highly responsible job as an office worker, but working from morning till night is exhausting enough. And if I may say, since I contribute to the living expenses without receiving any from her, it's only natural for my mother-in-law to do the housework, right? Even so, I've never taken for granted the housework she does, and I've always expressed my gratitude. But it doesn't seem to matter to my mother-in-law. Well, given my husband's previous remarks, he's likely to side with her. There's no point in arguing. Of course, I'll help out with what I can, but could you possibly do what you can when you have the time, without it being too much of a burden? Of course, for chores that are physically taxing like washing the bathroom, I'll definitely pitch in. It's not about cooperation or anything like that. You're supposed to do everything. But even if you tell me to do everything, as a wife, doing the housework is a given, so don't you dare defy me. The very idea of a daughter-in-law opposing me, her mother-in-law, is absurd. If you keep defying me, you might end up regretting it. She's threatening me? I don't want to yield to such threats, nor do I want to stay silent, but arguing with someone like her won't change the outcome. My frustration remains, yet without any allies, I had no choice but to comply with my mother-in-law's demands. Upon returning from work, I had to do the laundry, dishes, and even clean the bath, on top of all other household chores. After doing all the housework, including cooking meals for myself and my husband, since my mother-in-law wouldn't prepare my share, I had to quickly whip up something simple for myself and then head straight to bed. Day after day, this routine repeated, pushing me to both physical and mental exhaustion. If this lifestyle continues, I won't be able to take it anymore. Then one day, a Saturday, when I was supposed to sleep in, I was abruptly woken up by my mother-in-law at 8 a.m. "The garden's a mess. Could you clean it up? We're having a barbecue in our garden this evening with some guests." No. I hadn't heard anything about this. I was looking forward to resting on my day off. Can't I even have a moment of peace? But well, given how I was woken up, going back to sleep wasn't an option. Dragging my weary body up, I grabbed a coffee and headed out to the garden. Being summer, the sun was already blazing even in the morning, and I thought I had to finish quickly to avoid heat stroke while tending to the garden when... Watch out! By the time I heard that, it was too late. A vase with flowers, my husband's hobby, fell on my head. Apparently dropped by my mother-in-law from the second floor. Whether it was on purpose or an accident, I couldn't tell. Instead of my mother-in-law's concerned voice, I heard her snickering from above. Bleeding from my head, losing consciousness. I could hear not only my mother-in-law's laughter but also my husband's voice. "Seriously, my vase that I've been taking care of, this is the worst." Looking down from the second floor, he must have seen the broken vase and me lying there bleeding. Yet, his words were of concern for the vase, not me. Those were the last words I heard before I passed out, and when I came to, I was lying in a hospital bed. I wonder if they called an ambulance after that. Seeing me unconscious, they must have called for help, but I had reached my limit. What do they think of me? There are things you do and things you don't. It's absurd that adults can't make that distinction. If they called an ambulance, they must realize the seriousness of the situation. But even if they apologize now, I can't just forgive them. I have to get back at them thoroughly. With that thought, I devised a plan. Then, 10 minutes later, a nurse who came to check on me noticed I was awake and called the doctor, and then my husband and mother-in-law came. The doctor informed us there was nothing life-threatening, but... Who am I? When I said that, not only the doctor but also my husband and mother-in-law were stunned into silence. I haven't actually lost my memory. The memory of the vase falling on my head, my mother-in-law snickering, and my husband caring more for the vase than for me, all of it is vividly etched in my mind. But I pretended to have amnesia for 2 reasons. The first was to make my husband and mother-in-law believe their actions had caused me severe harm, and I hoped they would slip up in their panic. "You don't remember who I am?" "I'm sorry, who are you?" "What are we gonna do, Mom? This happened because you did that." Maybe it's best to leave her be for now. They're panicking. I could tell just by their voices. However, I couldn't let them off the hook just by making them worry. For now, I had to rest as the doctor said, with the real examination starting the next day. The doctor advised my mother-in-law and husband not to stress me too much before leaving the hospital room. Left in the room were me, believed to have amnesia, and the 2 of them. Then they started whispering to each other. "We should have done this, if only Mom hadn't done unnecessary things. Who could have predicted this would happen? Even so, now she really has amnesia. She might have to quit her job, then her income would be halved. And there's no one to do the housework. What was even the point of getting married?" I had thought only my mother-in-law had a terrible personality, but my husband too, it seems. My relationship and marriage were never about love for him. I was just a convenient presence, a housekeeper who would pay half the bills. I pretended to sleep right after the doctor left, but they probably didn't think I was listening. "But it'll be fine. If we keep talking to her, I believe her memory will come back." "Yeah, and if it doesn't, we'll just get divorced. No need for someone troublesome." "Exactly, women are replaceable, no need to fuss over this." Hearing this, my patience snapped. I couldn't stay silent. Enough with belittling people. I'm not your puppet to control. "How dare you? After listening to all this nonsense, am I just a convenient figure for you?" I shouted, my head throbbing with pain, but that didn't matter. I was too angry, glaring at them as I spoke. They were shocked, Probably because they thought I had amnesia, but I continued to vent my anger. What do you take me for, such scoundrels? Do you even understand how I've felt living like this? When I finally spoke up, my husband started to respond. I expected an apology, but of course, someone who uses people like this has no conscience. Instead, he insulted me. You weren't amnesiac? You've been deceiving us all this time. Your first words are those? Not concerned about my health or apologizing for what you've done, but playing the victim? You're the one deceiving us, pretending to sleep and eavesdropping. What kind of person does that? Like a witch. Really? I question their sanity. Why am I being blamed? My head is throbbing from the rage. Normally, I hate conflicts, but their words were too outrageous. It's time to cut ties. I had endured because I didn't want to worry my parents with a divorce and was worried about remarrying. But this is unbearable. Call me a witch if you want, but do you find joy in this? If the impact had been worse, it could have been life-threatening. It's because you always do annoying things. I warned you, didn't I? So, you did it on purpose? How could a vase just accidentally fall outside? Ah, so it was intentional. I suspected as much, but now I had their confession. Thank you. I've recorded our entire conversation, so I'll be reporting this to the police immediately. The moment I mentioned the police, their expressions changed drastically. The term pale as a ghost couldn't be more fitting. What you did is a serious assault case. If I submit this recording to the police, your life is over. But it's your own doing, so please bear with it. Police? There's no need to make such a big deal out of this. No need to make a big deal. Do you not realize the severity of what you've done? But that's because you're also to blame. Don't put all the blame on me. Really? Blaming me now? After making me bleed, is it my fault? Enough is enough. How can you think like that? And you should be apologizing first. Not making excuses after sending someone to the hospital. Well, I guess it's pointless to expect someone who enjoys tormenting their daughter-in-law to have any sense of decency. There's no need to involve the police. It's a family matter. We should solve it within the family. I recorded it because I intended to make it a criminal case, not a civil one. Why do you think I recorded it? Don't you get it? So it's not like that. Shouldn't you apologize first if you don't want police involvement? You can't even apologize properly but beg for mercy from the police, too convenient. Finally, they seemed to realize what they should do. But maybe their pride prevented them from apologizing to someone they've looked down upon for so long. They fell silent, not uttering a word. If there's nothing more to say, could you please leave? My bad. My bad? Is that their idea of an apology? To live so long yet not know how to apologize, it's sigh-inducing. If you really feel sorry, then please make your apology to the police. That might lighten your sentence. Wait a minute. I'm truly sorry. I never thought it would come to this. I apologize. I'm sorry too, please, let's not get the police involved. If this turns into a police matter, my life is over, for real. My life being over. I lost a significant part of my precious life by marrying you. And you only apologized because I mentioned the police, otherwise, you wouldn't have bothered. Well, I never intended to forgive you, but making this a police case and not being able to cut ties for a long time would be troublesome. How about we settle this with compensation? If you're willing to pay the amount I ask, we can settle this matter. I didn't want money, but I wasn't planning to demand an outrageous amount. I just wanted them to understand the gravity of their actions. And I wanted revenge, in any form. Eventually, we settled with them paying me compensation, and after that, we cut all ties completely. I heard that after that, my ex-husband and his mother completely severed their relationship. Well, there's no doubt her actions were the cause. But my ex-husband was no saint either. The two, lacking enough savings, ended up in debt to pay the compensation, and now they're struggling to repay it. They seem to deeply regret their actions, but regret doesn't undo what's been done. They should spend the rest of their lives carrying that regret. As for me, after the divorce, I changed jobs and found new employment in my hometown. I'm enjoying my second life. What's important in life is quality relationships. Whether or not I remarry, I need to carefully choose who I spend my time with. Neglecting that can waste precious moments of life. After all, time spent with such people is utterly worthless.